to the Crazy Ant Farm, man. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, of course. You know you're one of our longtime favorites. What, 18? So what, that's 6, 7 years, almost 7 years. Wow. That's so crazy, man. But we always love talking to you. We always love having you on because you're always doing something creative. You've always got something in the works or something to debut. So we're super excited to have you on, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, OG.
Yeah, that's right, man. Oh, one of the best nights ever. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite Throwback Thursdays to post all the time. I
Serious.
just love them every single time.
Serious. And we're waiting. We need to have that thing made into a television series. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Because at some point, we have got to get that thing going, man. Come on. Or at least a revisit.
One of these days, politics will finally become a thing where people don't hear, oh, it's political? Sorry.
Yeah, no.
But, you know, it's something, believe me, David and I, my co-writer, we talk about it once a week. We love the idea. We have plans for it, but, you know. You try to catch the zeitgeist when you can.
Yeah, no doubt plans for it because you have so many hanging storylines. It was like, no. We got to know what's going to go on. You know, just if not JS, just write it for us. Just send it over so we can find out what happens. Like, forget everybody else. We want to know though. Like, you know.
That's so great. That's so great. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different revolving things that you have going on because we did just bring you on Everything's Okay, our mental health podcast to talk about Week. And that was such an amazing project that we're still going to link below in the description. So everybody be sure to watch that one. But we're going to be talking about your new one today, which we're super excited about because it is a horror film. Was this your first ever time writing horror? I was curious because, you know, I've heard back and forth whether or not horror can be hard to write or difficult or easy to write. So what was your thought process with it?
Yeah, so actually, my day job as a writer, David and I, we primarily do genre stuff. That's sort of what we're actually known for. So America 2.0 Week, those are the departures from what we usually do. The majority of everything that I think of is genre storytelling. And the thing was that, you know, over the last couple of years, there was a strike. There were a lot of things happening that we weren't, you know, able to do things. And coming out of the strike, we sort of had a conversation and we got tired of being in the document writing business, which is where you go, you pitch, you know, if you're successful and like you catch lightning in a bottle, you maybe get paid to write something, you know, and then nothing happens with it because making anything original is really difficult. You know, last year I was incredibly lucky. I was able to sell an original pilot to CBS that I did with Cloud9 and Eric Christian Olsen's company, and it was an amazing experience getting to work with CBS at the highest level, but it's difficult to make an original pilot. So I just thought to myself, and talking to my team, that I just want to go make something. I've forgotten that thrill of just going and making something. And because primarily I am a genre filmmaker, I thought, why not? You know, everything I've made has been non-genre because as I'm writing the genre stuff, I'm like, let me go do something completely different, right? And then I thought, you know what? Let's just go do the thing that I love more than anything, which is, you know, horror, thriller, sci-fi. Like, that's the sweet spot. And so let's just get into it. The genesis of this, which is end of last year, David and I went to see Oppenheimer probably for the third or the fourth time. And I remember distinctly that before the movie started, there must have been some trailer, and somebody in it just said the word surveillance. They just said it, and that's the title of the movie. And I don't remember anything after that for the next 20 minutes because, like, I just saw surveillance, the word doubling, tripling, quadrupling, rearranging, and I saw the word evil. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, putting the evil in surveillance. And I thought, wow, that's a great hook. And I can't believe nobody's really done that, is lifted the veil in surveillance and turned it into evil. And just, the next morning I called David, as I always do, or he calls me, one or the other. And I said, hey, I'm pretty sure I have an idea for a horror movie. And I pitched him this concept. And, he was like, yeah, that's amazing. And we were off to the races. So we wrote in and said, let's just make something first. Let's make a proof of concept. Let's just go do something. And we didn't want to write a whole feature and, go years and years. I was like, in success, that would be great. But right now, I just want to make something.
Yeah.
And so I said, what can we do with one room, with one person, with no talking? As filmmakers, you guys know, it's all about putting as many constraints as possible. And then you're able to craft something amazing. And so we said, okay, on this one, we have very little money, not a whole lot of resources. How do we still make something incredible? And from there grew the idea of surveillance, which is just taking a security guard who's alone on the graveyard shift, bored out of his mind, just looking at the security monitor. And at a certain point, all hell breaks loose, right?
Yeah.
That was the whole conceit.
Well, I was going to make the joke about it's really just a PSA not to vape and the psychological effects of vaping. I was like, I've been waiting for like 2 weeks to make that joke. So I'm finally able to let it loose.
So Logan, you would be in very good company because one of my really close mentors is Damon Lindelof, who created Lost and Watchmen and the rest. He said this is the best, most compelling PSA for non.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny that you bring him up because I was going to say that the production design on it, you can tell. And for anybody who doesn't know, you reference Lost all the time. It's like you're a big fan of it, right? The production design the whole time, I'm thinking that bunker in Lost. The older equipment, right? It's not all brand new, flat screen, nice little... No, this is old, clunky, like, kind of it's been there forever. And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just thinking... Lost. This is a guy down there, and what's he watching? Why is he watching it? Now what's going on? What's this evil thing that we don't know what it is, but something's there kind of a thing? And you could just tell. And I was like, I love it because you always kind of spin to that. And I love that you always kind of do it, that you're heavily influenced there.
But do you want to know the kicker? I directed the whole thing in a Lost.
Nice.
I love that.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not even kidding.
It totally makes sense to me. So talk about what you, as the writer, interpret that it is, though. Is this in his head? Is he going through something that he's looking at himself and maybe trying to figure out, where am I at in life? What is going on with me? Why, and he starts questioning everything about it. Or is there somebody legitimately watching him? Because if you go for, I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I want people to watch it. But in the monitor. So is that a play on he's taking a hard look at himself? Or is that something else interpreting that for him? Like, come on, talk about it.
I'm gonna turn it over to you guys because I said everything I wanted to with the film. I love this stuff, and it's really cool because we as I said, I just wanted to make this movie so that people can watch it. It's 6 minutes long. It's available on YouTube. People can watch Surveillance the film. And hopefully we'll link to it as well.
For sure.
But essentially the point was for people to just watch and kind of come to their own conclusions. And it's been really interesting reading the YouTube comments and like a lot of people sort of like putting detailed theories. And I'm just like, this is amazing. And, like David, I'm just like, I'm not going to confirm or deny anything because also I believe once you've made the movie, once it's finished, until we're making the movie, you have the conversations, you have a team, you have executives, you have your co-writer, you have the crew, you have the actor, everybody's interpreting it differently. Once the movie's made, it's not my movie anymore.
No.
It's your movie. Everybody, whatever opinion you have, it's a valid opinion. And I feel me saying one thing of like confirming or denying it, it takes away from people.
See, and that's the great thing because we talk about that all the time too. Art once it's released is interpretive. It's meant to be interpretive, right? Everybody looks at a picture and sees something different, right? Unless they're told what to see. So I love that you said that. Okay, Logan, let's talk about it. Like you said, let's talk. I think that this is a guy who has spent a vast amount of time by himself, isolated, maybe socially awkward or whatever, but because most people who work the graveyard shift, there's a reason they choose to work the graveyard shift, right? They don't like big crowds of people. They don't like interacting. But at a certain point, that starts really getting to you. When you're isolated and you're the only one you're hanging out with is yourself, and you don't have a broad band of friends or things like that, it starts to play on you. So my interpretation of it was exactly that. This guy has spent a lot of time isolated, doesn't have a lot of social interaction, and is really just at the point where he's like, what the hell is going on with my life? Where am I at? Why am I here? Am I stuck here forever? Is this some sort of hell that I'm living in? Kind of a, and that was my look at it, which is why I thought whenever we see the monitor of what he's looking at, he's clearly looking at that. So that's my interpretation of how I came at it. And that can be a living hell. That can be a scary evil, right? That you realize you're not in control. You think you are, but you're not. And you've put yourself into this situation that is now a scary situation. And maybe you're not so sure how to get back out of. All right, Logan.
Mine's a little bit different. Mine's not as I don't know, as deep as yours. I kind of, because coming in from an inner city background and, seeing the side effects of hardcore drugs every single day, I think he's tripping. I think he is on some fucking acid or on some heroin or something, because he's in the room. And I mean, you show, different aspects, and the makeup and hair did really well because he looks like he's sweating. He looks like, he is going through his own individual process. And then I feel like the thing that is taking him to a different place. I'm trying to tiptoe around things. But it's I feel like that's his inner demons telling him, hey, this is going to take the rest of your life if you keep on the same track, on the same path, to where, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to still be in this same deadbeat job, working third shift for many more years if you continue on the same path. So that was kind of my interpretation of it. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. Yeah. But yeah, to be able to, and I mean, I was just more fascinated by, of course, the set design and the editing techniques and things like that, because with having such hardcore older equipment, like the dial to click through, that was amazing. And so I'm thinking about, in my head, my editor's brain, I'm like, okay, did they put a green screen, and how did they put that in such an old material, or did they mask around it and then put the footage in? So I mean, what was that whole process with finding the older technology to use in your film and then editing around your older technology, because there are some limitations to things like that?
Real quick, JS, wait, right, Logan, I think you went the same place I did, except you used something to spark him. Right?
Yeah.
Like the drug or we don't want to give too much away, but the thing he tosses, maybe that's it got him into the mind frame of starting to do what I was talking about, how he was doing that, right? So we're kind of there. You just needed the stimulant. You needed the stimulant to get him there. And and I can't wait for you to explain what Logan was just asking, because first we have to ask, Logan, have you seen Lost? Have you watched it yet?
I haven't. I haven't watched a single episode of Lost. I'm sorry.
Well,
I
JS,
was hoping that wasn't going to get brought up, but damn it.
No, because now he's going to explain the editing and the thought process behind the production design, and then he's going to tell you should be watching it.
No. I mean, I tell everybody to watch Lost, but I also know it's a divisive show. I love it, but if people don't like it, I completely understand. Again, art is subjective. But I would highly recommend it. No, so the way this happened was, how I told you guys, I thought of the surveillance and evil. So that night after I saw the movie Oppenheimer, I came home and I made a quick poster where I put in a monitor, and in the monitor I put surveillance with spelling out evil. And once we wrote the script and blah, 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 in a couple of months, once I was like, okay, we're making this, I went to my production designer, Daniel Berger, who's an incredible production designer, also worked on Week with me. And, he said, great, let me go do my thing. And he must have shown me like 50 different monitors.
Oh, wow.
I didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
Finally, I was like, look, this is like the only other character. I only have one actor, and like,
Right.
kind of the other main character. And finally, he just goes, do you want me to just build you one? And I was like, was that an option? Yes, please. So he builds me one, but we had the conversation of, he's like, do you want it operational or do you not want it operational?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was, because of the time limitation and the space limitation and a lot of other technical factors, I said, no, just have it look interesting. And then we did sort of a white screen that had a light within it, so that it gives you that glow. But we were able to we had our incredible VFX artist, Shah Rahman. He was there on set with us, with me and my DP, George, and we figured out everything. So in a way, it is all green screen. But that's what's interesting is I had 1 day to shoot everything. I shot all of this in roughly 8.5 to 9 hours.
Nice.
I had close to, I think we had 118 or 120 shots in 70 steps. And when my DP was like, did we add multiple days that I was not aware of? And I was like, nope, we're gonna get all of this. And honestly, I have to get all the credit, not some of the credit, all the credit to my incredible actor, Rahul Rai. He was phenomenal. He was pitch perfect in every move. You guys know that, filmmaking is an intersection of performance, technicality, time, all of these other departments coming together. And, when I started working with him, I basically said, look, there's no dialogue and you don't have a co-actor. You're acting opposite yourself.
Right.
So I'm going to talk you through all of this. And as we were doing it, it was kind of tough finding the rhythm. And then I said, let's take a break. So we sat down actually on this couch. We're just talking. And I said, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he goes, yeah, what do you want to know? And I was like, how did you get started? And he starts telling me about, as a young performer. And he said, oh, I actually started as a dancer. That's how I trained. And I go, ooh, hold a minute. I said, okay, this entire movie, 3 dance routines. And I broke it into that.
Nice.
And then he rehearsed it. I shot the whole thing on my iPhone in my apartment, gave him that video, and I said, now practice the same thing with this timing, like do it 5 times a day. When he got on set, I'm not kidding you guys, he was a machine. I would just be like, go. And he would do it exactly, precisely. My whole crew was like, what is happening? This guy is just so zoned in and was pitch perfect like 100 times we did it.
Well,
and he did it every time.
And I'm sure any actor will back me up on this, but just anybody who's a fan of film or television or any type, or even stage, one of the hardest things for an actor to do is not speak, to only have facial expressions to convey what you are trying to have people feel.
Yeah.
And for him, he was stellar. You felt everything he was feeling. And sometimes you can do no dialogue and you have a scene partner and you're able to play off of them. They'll say something and your reaction, even though you don't speak, is still a reaction. But to do it when you're by yourself and you have nothing and you're just like, yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal. I think he did just an amazing job at not over the top facial expressions, just enough, because sometimes I feel like when there's no dialogue and that you're having to convey it, you'll come too big, right? But never at that point. He just kind of like, he made you feel it, but he never was over. And yeah, I'm right there with you.
He was also both terrified and terrifying.
Yes.
When we go to the other thing.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I needed somebody. So for those people who don't know Rahul Rai, he's a content creator and influencer. He is massive on Instagram and TikTok. I actually happened to meet him during the strike when we were picketing. I just met
Yeah.
him outside Disney. I did not know him. I just saw another person just kind of introverted looking at his phone and was like, hey, like we got to talking, we followed each other. And then I saw that he is very popular for acting opposite himself. He does a lot of funny videos where he has two personas. It's like him and his girlfriend. Like he makes
Mm-hmm.
that up. And all of his videos are really funny. So actually, when I slid into his DMs, I was like, hey, I wrote this horror thing. I think you would be great at it. And he goes, I've never done horror. And B, he's like, do you think I can do this? And I was like, look, if you can do comedy, if you can make people laugh, you can do anything. And I just said, this is so technical. You're just going to have to trust me. And he's like, look, if you think I'll do well, absolutely. And, he really was very methodical.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to kind of go over like we had a lot of conversations director to actor about the character, but once he understood that it was a dance and we were doing all these things, something just clicked in both for him and I, and we found that perfect mix of technicality, artistry, choreography. I mean, this entire movie is choreographed.
Oh, sure.
And we had three different cameras. We had a GoPro, we had our Sony camera, and then we had an iPad that we shot in infrared. And so each thing was a completely different setup, how he was thinking, his body posture he had to come up with himself and the doppelganger. So it was just a really complex shoot that hopefully comes across as something very simple. But there were a lot of moving parts to
Mm-hmm.
making it feel seamless. Like I remember when I first gave all the footage after we had shot everything to my editor, whom him I hadn't really worked with a lot before, and he just said, "Okay, I have the footage. I'll see you in a week. I'll do then assemble." And I said, I don't think that'll quite work. We should sit down. Let me walk you through it." And he's like, buddy, I've been doing this for a while, right? Like, come back once I have an assemble. And then I was like, okay. The next day I get a call and it's like, yeah, maybe we should go through this together because things are so specific and
Yeah.
you most of the time you're just shooting something with a green screen. You don't exactly know what moment is going to go into what. I had three different kinds of footage, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody without context has no idea. It wasn't on set. He didn't see what the story was. And then once we walked through it, he goes, "Oh, now I get it." And it was funny because at the end of the process, and I had a phenomenal editor, Dave Eichhorn. He's amazing, and his instincts are just so like specific and on point. But at the end, he said, I really don't enjoy directors like sitting with me while I'm cutting. But he's like, this was one where don't really think it could have worked if you weren't here because so much of it was I'm somebody who, when I'm directing on set, I cut in my head. So
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
exactly down to the frame where it's going to go. And sometimes they would say, we're not sure you have the shot. And I'm like, I do. And then we would find it. And so it was just really, I feel so privileged that I had a crew that at the end of the day was like, we trust you. And then allow, some weird glimpses, probably to their detriment, into this crazy brain of mine. But I was able to have their trust and bring everything together. And I'm just so incredibly proud of every single person who worked on this as a passion project and was able to help us make this movie.
Oh, most definitely. You should be proud because it's a great piece of art. I loved every second of it. I've been sending it to people since seeing it, so
Same.
it's been great. But I mean, the process that you're describing, it really sounds like I don't know if you watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, but it really sounds like that floor that it's so many moving parts at once and it's all cohesive together and moving in such a beautiful way that it is kind of like dancing. Even the way you're describing it to your actor, I felt like was amazing. And it's awesome too that you picked up on that specific point because I feel like if a director isn't really listening to their actor on how their actor learns or how their actor tries to pick up on something, that's that disconnect. That's that disconnect that will end up showing on screen, and you don't want that. You want to have, your best possible product to put out there. So I mean, you did an amazing job, and I mean, what you were able to do with such a small amount of time too. You said 1 day.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy to me. Like, that's such an amazing thing to where, like, you're able to think about all these different things and put them all together and then have this amount of time to set forth and make your dreams come reality. Because I mean, better than anyone else, this podcast is for the up and comers who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. So if you feel like, and I'm speaking to all the listeners out there, if you feel like you're someone who really wants to get this thing going but doesn't want to bite off more than they can chew, one actor, one room, one overall goal. I think that is the perfect way. And you did it in such a way too, to where like you were able to shoot it, get it out quick, scratch that itch that you were missing from being on set and being a filmmaker. I think that's such a beautiful thing. But I mean, that's why we love having you on, because you bring such awesome pieces of advice. You talk about these things and don't even know they're pieces of advice because you do it in such a way to where it feels so easy and so able to understand. So I mean, it's such an amazing. That's why I love having you on,
And
bro.
and the
you.
one
Of
word
course.
that you said, right? You said it right before Logan. Passion,
Yes.
because when you have limited resources and you have 1 day and you have the time, it takes passion to pull that off. You have to love what you do, and you have to be all in for the sake of the art. Because if it's for any other reason, you can't pull that off. And like you said, you were blessed to have people that were there for the passion project, because that's what it takes. And
Right,
so
'cause passion is infectious. That's
absolutely.
what gets everybody excited, because then each person goes, oh my God, oh, I love this idea. And oh, so this DP has this thing. And, my cinematographer who has shot, most of my things since my film school days, like he shot my film school thesis all the way to now. And, he's like, oh, okay, we're going to try this and we're going to try that. So for that infrared thing, we tried fancy stuff. We tried apps that are like hundreds upon hundreds and almost $1,000. We tried all this
Oh
stuff.
wow.
And then ended up, and I was like, I don't like any of this. And he's like, good thing we can return them. So we did all that and we didn't spend a lot of money. And then eventually it ended up being an app on an iPad that was $2.99.
Yeah,
That's
see,
crazy.
there you
Like,
go.
you never know
No.
sort of where it is. And then he did some, distortion to it and stuff. But like we played around with things. We tried to do as much, for the feeds, the actual surveillance feeds. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but like, screw it. We snuck into David's like apartment building and at like middle of the night, and we're like, there's nobody here. Let's just get some surveillance footage,
Yes.
right? We got into the elevator. In fact, it's so funny. I didn't even know this, but when we were looking at the footage, my DP later sent me the footage from the GoPros, and he's like, hey, watch video 3 for a little surprise. And we watch, it's just the elevator going up, elevator coming down, elevator going up, elevator coming down, elevator going up. Somebody comes in and there's 2 guys and they're just like, why is there a GoPro in here? And they're like, oh, I wonder if somebody's making a TikTok video, and they do like a little dance. And then like, so it's just, you never know what you're going to get. But it was a run and gun, try to get whatever you can. And then beyond that, have that vision. Like I knew I wanted some kind of specific hair and, makeup effects and, things. There were some very specific moments, that we wanted to play with visual effects. I had very specific things in mind that I wanted to do. The eyes, there's the moment and stuff. So, everything was, I would say, for filmmakers who are wanting to do this when you don't have a lot of, hell, even if you do have a lot of money, preparation.
Yes.
The more you can do it. And look, I'm the first one to say, have a great plan. And then if you see a better idea, abandon it. But don't go in without a plan. If you go in without a plan, you're wasting everybody's time. You're wasting money. People are going to second guess you. They're not going to, so just have a plan. Think things through. And then listen to amazing people around you and say, okay, we can do that. Or, and love the or game,
Without doubt. Or we can sneak into the building and grab this.
Totally. Yeah,
look,
absolutely.
guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, and sometimes you get the best stuff that way. You just got to take chances, man. If you get kicked out, you get kicked out. But sometimes you just get it, and that's part of the passion. That's part of the trick. It's just like, what can we do? What chance can we take? This wasn't in the plan, but we're gonna run and gun anyway, and
David said, he's like, it was his building, and he's like, it's better to ask for forgiveness.
Exactly.
There you go.
We're not invading anybody's privacy.
No.
Night when nobody was around.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So we weren't inconveniencing anyone, but it was just really fun. And one thing, Logan, you talked about, and I do think it's really important, especially when working with actors, is that listening part, and that knowing no two actors are the same. I've worked with so many. I mean, you can just see my cast here. Every single person had a different method of working, and Rahul was completely different. And it's just, that's the thing that I feel is so special about what we get to do, is no two projects, no two actors, no two anything is going to be the same, which means you always have to be evolving, learning, being open to new experiences, and just, do your homework, be respectful, and be passionate. Get people excited about what they want to do with you.
Oh, yes. I'm ready to go outside right now. Let's go shoot something. I'm just like pumped, man. I'm pumped.
Love it.
Well, something new that we've been doing on the podcast since the last time you've come on, it's a new 2024 thing. It's our popcorn questions. It's kind of how we like to end up our interviews. They're fun questions. It's definitely something that I feel like will bring more personality to light. That's for sure. So the first one is, what was the funniest moment or most memorable moment on the set of Surveillance?
One of the funniest moments was when my cinematographer, because anytime we're seeing the surveillance camera view from back up, I thought we were going to mount the GoPro there, but the angle wasn't just right. So my DP was like, no, we're just going to have it, mounted up really high. And I said, great, so I can see the tap. And he's like, oh, no, we didn't have enough time, so you can't really watch. And I'm like, well, I have to direct. It's very specific. I can't wait till after. So they got me a massive ladder, and I directed for like 2 hours standing high up on a ladder, and it was just hysterical because everybody was just like, hey, you want to come down? And I'm like, no, it's going to take too long for me to come down and go back up. I'm just going to stay here. So we have a lot of photos of me just like looking at the tiny GoPro, like, 8 foot in the air. It's
That's awesome.
Oh, dude, no, that's fantastic. That's got to be some great production stills, some behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, that's just, you got to have a photo of that somewhere.
Definitely.
I think we know the answer to this one, but we're gonna ask it anyway before we get to the deep stuff. All right, if you could live in any film or television show, which one would it be and why?
Oh my God! Wait, I wouldn't want to live in Lost.
Oh, whoa!
Oh my God, where would I want to live inside a show? Oh, that's so fascinating. Probably some kind of comedy. Probably Ted Lasso.
That would be a fun one.
Nice,
that would be a good one.
Happy, like people are like good. I think, I'm British. I was born in England, so I'm gonna go with Ted Lasso. I'd love to be in that world.
All right,
that would be a great one. They have some great food they pop up in that show too that I feel like I would love to try.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, we know you've already worked with so many amazing individuals, but if you could work with that one dream person, who would it be?
Oh my God. You mean as an actor?
Yes, sir. Yep.
With? Oh my God. I mean, look, there's one person that I just love his movies and what he means to cinema, and I feel I would love to have an opportunity to work with, or even be in the same room and just shadow Tom Cruise. I just think he does cinema in a way, like, I mean, cinema with a capital C, right? He is just so filmic, and everybody I know who has worked with him, in Week, one of our actors was Patrick Husinger, who's incredible, and he was the villain in the second Jack Reacher opposite Tom Cruise, and so
yeah.
he talked about sort of meeting and working with Tom, and like I know a lot of others, including Mr. Lawrence Fishburne, and all the people. Every story they've told me about him has just been one of those, like, this is a person who just like oozes love for film, and the art form and artistry and history and all of that. And man, he makes great movies. So I would love to work with him one day.
My goodness,
I mean, he is the definition of a movie star. I feel like when you go back and think about movie star, that he's one of them that comes up.
Well, and you know what? You know, just take away everything else, right? Because everybody's got something to say about him, right? But take all that away and just focus on Tom Cruise, the actor, the movie star. There's not a single guy that has more passion for what he does. I mean, this guy in movies is risking his life on a regular basis because he's so passionate about getting it right. So forget all the other stuff, the outside stuff. Just go, that guy likes to make movies. I love that. All right.
And on a pure acting level, if I were to say, I think Viola Davis is somebody who takes my breath away every time in everything I have ever seen. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to meet her once, and you know, I've pitched a lot to her company, and she's somebody that I'm constantly, David and I, in fact, we're huge Colossal fans, and we're always thinking, like, what can we write that we could maybe one day get in front of Viola?
There you go.
Phenomenal.
For sure.
So that's an unlikely duo.
No.
Tom Cruise.
Maybe it's something together. Who knows? Maybe you never know.
That would be crazy.
All right, now we're gonna get to the Barbara Walters make you cry stuff. Let's get deep. Right. Let's get deep.
Yeah. All right.
If you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would it be?
Keep dreaming.
Simple. I like that.
Because I've already had a lot of moments. Like, so I grew up all over the world, but you know, a majority of like that 10 to 16 area, that was when I was in India, and I was a very good student. I was a good kid, right? But every year I would conveniently get sick on a Monday, which happened to be Oscar Sunday here. There in India would be a Monday. And, like, my parents didn't catch on until way later, but it was, like, once a year in March, I always just conveniently got sick because I was like, it's the Oscars. It's at, like, 7 in the morning.
Yeah,
I was just I'm not going to school. I'm sorry. I'm really sick, you know. But, you know, I would watch the Oscars and I would watch the Emmys. That was a thing. And over the years, I have had an opportunity to meet with and work with some people that I watched win these things. Right? Gone into rooms and held these Oscars or looked at movie posters, and it's just such a thing of like, I knew nobody in the industry. I literally had zero connections, you know, came from a different country, but to able to get to those places and feel like, oh wow, I can belong just because of, you know, the hard work and determination and talent and having that dream. I would just tell that young JS, like, keep dreaming, keep doing that, and do the work. And you know, as Damon said to me, because I you know, I'm always trying to pick people's brains and like, what's the one piece of advice that you could give? And he gave me something that I wrote on a Post-it, and it's always on my workspace, which is do the work. It will save you every time.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's the mantra.
There you go.
That's really good. And the fifth and final one, it's very simple. Are you happy with your career so far?
Ooh. Oh my God. I feel like this is the introspective one.
Yes.
I don't know if happy is the right term. I feel like I am finally at a place of acceptance with where I am and understand, again, going back to the last thing, which is doing the work. I have stopped putting happiness or sadness based on results or jobs I get or movies I get to make. Right. Because it's not in my control. But I am somebody who's, I feel like I'm finally at peace
There you
with
go.
sort of the process and just being like, I wake up every day going, what am I doing next? I don't think what is the next movie is it going to happen? Like when my team calls me, if the call is, hey, sorry, you didn't get the job, I'm like, okay. If they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you got it, I'm like, okay. And a lot of times it throws them where they're like, oh, buddy, like we're so sorry, or like, how exciting is this? And I'm like, look, if I go super high with the excitement, that also means I'm gonna go super low. And
Yeah.
then my whole life is just this. And
That's right.
that's not good for your mental health.
Nope.
Not
No.
to bring it to the other podcast.
That's
I
right.
just was like, I'm gonna go very like even keeled and putting my stock in the doing of it, not what comes of it.
Yes.
I
Oh,
love that. And I feel like I'm kind of in that same place too, because I mean, I know, and Dustin knows, every time we wake up in the morning, we have things to get accomplished. We are going to continue to work at what we love, but it's not going to be to the disgrace of our mental health. That has to be priority for us, our family, the people who we have around us. That is what's most important. Like we
Yeah.
just started our Kickstarter page like 2 days ago, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, it's such a huge amount of money compared to what our last film was and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's day 2. We're fine. We're just at the beginning. We're good. We'll
yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going. We'll take this one day at a time. We can only, promote and do as much as we can on our side. It's all about the people who, support and, represent us that, have to balance that out. And I mean, I love what you always say. And yeah, I mean, it's cross promotion. We love it. We
Yeah,
love it.
Sure.
You said it on the mental health podcast and you said it here. Yeah, it's very important to stay very here.
Well,
Never the zigzag.
and understanding that, because we've talked about it, it's like if we don't raise the whole amount, we're going to make the movie anyway. We're going to do whatever we
Yeah.
have to do to make the film, because that's what we do as filmmakers. If it has to be this, then it's going to be this, and it's still going to be great art because we're talented and we love what we do and it's going to work. So, and I think that is the right approach. Whatever's meant to be is going to be, and you're going to do what you do, and that's all going to work out. And in the end, that's
doing
what's going to make it
passion.
happen.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like your capital is your passion, your vision, and you will make happen with what you have.
Exactly.
And, that's
Exactly.
the thing I would say to keep chasing. But
Yep.
you guys are awesome, and I'm so thrilled for you, and all exciting things. But anybody who's listening to this, please check out Surveillance.
Yes.
It's on YouTube.
Yes. And
yes.
dude, just thank you, man, because you're such a gem to talk to every time that we speak to you. You get us fired up, you get us passionate about and I feel like anybody who hears you feels that way. It's I mean, it makes sense that so many people want to work with you or continue to work with you, because you do have that passion and you inspire that passion with other people and make them believe that they can do it. And that's why we always love to have you on this show. So thank you for the friendship over the years. Like we said at the top of the show, it's been just amazing, and all the support that you've always given us. And just, yeah, man, and I think it goes without saying, but open invite anytime, any
always.
place, anywhere.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. You guys are always a first call, and, love talking with you. Love your guys' energy and passion. And again, this is all about getting more and more people sort of excited, interested in the arts, in making things. And, you guys love talking about things that you love. There are a lot of podcasts where people just go down negativity spirals and about what's not working. And it's like, there is a world of criticism that is important, but negativity holds just aren't that interesting. I'd much rather talk to people who love things and want to talk about how can we make things better
Yes.
or more, make more things. And
That's right.
that's why I was so excited to talk about it, even though it's a horror film. It's
Right.
a very positive, uplifting conversation.
That's
that we
right.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Yes, like JS said, be sure to check out Surveillance on YouTube. The link is in our description for this episode. And man, where can people find you? Because it's all about social media, so we want to promote you as much as there as well.
Thank you. I'm at JS Mayank on Twitter and on Instagram, or X and Instagram.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever get used to that. And then our film is also surveillance film on Instagram. So hopefully people will look at it. If you watch it on YouTube, please throw in a comment if there's an interesting observation or a question or anything like that. I go through and always try to respond to all of them. And yeah, thanks for having me on, you guys. You're the best.
Of course. Right back at you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, take care. Thank you again so much, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Man, always so good talking to fellow filmmakers. I mean, we've been so fortunate the past couple weeks to be able to talk to other filmmakers who know the hair-pulling struggle that is filmmaking.
Oh
But it's
my
also
gosh.
such a beautiful thing, too, that we can sit on set and cry because we're so happy. It's crazy.
What? And I mean, there's not a single filmmaker that I know, whatever their status is, just getting started, have been working, that doesn't have a guerrilla moment.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody does it at some point. It's like, we have got to get this. We're going. We're doing it. Like, I just love hearing stories like that because it's the one thing I feel like bonds all of us together. It's that passion about what we do and what we're willing to do to be able to do it. And it's an amazing thing. And I also just sit and I laugh every time I think about the fact that this relationship, this friendship, this collaboration started over a cup, bro. A coffee cup.
Yeah.
So anybody out there, if you think that you can't meet somebody or you won't have a collaborator or you can't establish a connection, you never know what it will be that will spark it. But this happened because of a coffee mug, okay? So just keep going. It's just amazing, man. It's amazing.
It really is. It really is. Thank you, JS, for coming on the show.